Hello.
Hi. I, I'm still trying to figure out what all these buttons do. It's going to take
Oh,
a while. I just sort of click things and then,
that's what happens when people have like filters on their face, like when they do like lives or whatever, and they're like, I don't know how to take the filter off. And then
yeah,
they have like, sunglasses on or something crazy like that.
yeah, that's funny.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. That's right. So I think that last time I did my math wrong, and I think like how I was all in, I think we had another 5 or 10 minutes, but
Yeah, I think so, but that's okay.
yeah. So let me, so 2:17, so 38 minutes from now. Um, so if I set a timer for like 32 minutes,
Right.
we should be fine,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 32 minutes before I try to do anything else. And then I'm taking off my notifications. So I'm doing do not disturb, which hopefully my timer will still go.
I think it will. I
I
think
think,
so.
yeah. I mean, I guess a half hour from now is 2:46
Something, yeah.
or no, 2:48.
48, 2:48, yeah.
I think right at 2:50, if we're not shut down, we
Yeah.
know we need to be wrapping
It's
up.
coming. It's coming.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go ahead though and turn on the live, and I'm not going to spend time in that space. Did you see that I was going to go live?
Yeah, I did. I was like, I thought it didn't work like that. And then I was like, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
at first I was like, I thought we discussed that this live situation didn't work. But
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. I never thought about that.
I mean, I don't know who's going to hop on or whatever, and I'm not going to be paying them any attention, but they can watch behind. It's just another
Yeah.
angle,
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So, active now. Am I live? Okay, so checking connection. So now I'm live. So I'll talk to them for just a second. So if you guys hop on, you're going to be seeing, let's see, I don't want to spend a ton of time setting this up, move my baby wipes off the toilet. You guys are just seeing a behind the scenes of a recording PKC podcast with Rep Emily. So she's on my computer screen there. This is going to be published to the podcast, and then we'll do I'll have a little reel over at the Pretty Kind campaign on Wednesday. But so you can hang out and listen to us chat and watch me in my bathroom office here at the ranch, or you can hop off. But we just thought this would be fun, and you kind of get it behind the scenes. I'll do a quick, which I can do with you guys. So Emily's there, as you guys see. There's the window. We have a window in our shower. Like you guys are chilling here on the back of the toilet. So I've got a roll of toilet paper here. It's very convenient in case someday I cry on the podcast. But anyway, Emily, now I'm going to focus on you. And before I even say anything, I'm going to just take my breath and then try to start the podcast audio. And then we'll just dive in because I don't want to waste another minute.
Perfect.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the PKC podcast. This is episode 6, and this is part 4 of a series we're doing with friend and rep Emily. We coined the word prep last week for that, didn't we?
I think so, yeah.
This is part 4 of a series we're doing on infertility and pregnancy loss. And Rep Emily is, I tend to put Rep before it all the time. I can't help it. But she has been sharing very transparently and openly about her journey through these things. And she's just started with IVF treatment. And I'm going to stop here and just let her fill us in.
Well, it's been a week. Did we talk last Tuesday? So almost, I guess it's been 7 days. You can't see because it's blurred out, but that is my shot counter that I have put on my wall. It's a giant sticky note. And so I was like, I need to keep track of like all the things because I've seen people who just like dump out sharps containers with like all the shots, and that could be like years and years and years of like shots. So I'm only at 16 as of right now from a week ago, which is more than one. It's like two a day, ish. And yesterday I was like, oh, I graduated to four in a day. And yeah, so I went this morning to the clinic. And funny enough, Jeremiah had to go to the clinic as well, but our appointments were at different times, and like he's in and out because what is the only thing a man is there to do, right? And so I was like, all right, well, I guess we're driving separately. And so he left, and then when I got there, he went into the, got called back, and then I'm sitting there like answering emails in the waiting room, and he's leaving. And so it was just like a ships passing in the night kind of thing this morning. So he won't have to go back until we go for the egg retrieval, but we made our security deposit, as I like to call it. So he will have his sample frozen just
Okay.
in case anything goes wrong
Uh-huh.
or they need it or whatever for retrieval day. So that's just our like, it is literally a security deposit. So
Yeah. Does he
um
need, can I ask a question at this
yeah.
juncture? Okay, so because on egg retrieval day, you're gonna try to use that fresh egg. Does Jeremiah try to, so he doesn't need to try to do something fresh right then either? They use what his deposit today?
No, they will take a fresh sample.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. But like if you were to get sick or something happens, or sometimes people like their partners travel or whatever, so
yeah,
or they're like in the military perhaps, so then they can use like the frozen,
yeah,
if they want to. And like I was like, I don't want to leave it to chance. So I'm like, just go do it. So
yeah,
he had that today, but I was like, your job is basically done. Like that is your job. Last night I was like, it's so hard. And he's like, yeah, it really is. And I'm like, what? For me? I know what he means.
yeah.
And it was far too late because it was after 10 o'clock and I was so anxious about this other shot that I like could not like calm myself down enough. I think it was 11:30 before I maybe like finally went to bed. So yeah, so I'm on to four shots a day, one in the morning and three in the evening, but one of them is at 10 p.m. So they called me today and I have to do that again. But my um follicles are growing nicely, and so that's what we want to see. So we're
Good,
headed in the right direction. So
good.
but it's been a lot.
It,
It's like I sent a picture of my stomach to my sisters and my mom, and I was like, look at this. It's got like all these little red little pin, pokes and some bruises and just a little sore. And last night, the shot that I had to take was it kind of was really itchy and then kind of started to get red. And so I literally went to the freezer and I like took an ice pack and I put it in the pants of my pajamas and I fell asleep with it. And I woke up and I was like, oh, it's still here. I figured I would have like wiggled it out, like at some
yeah,
point during the night, but I guess I did not. So,
yeah. Well, you're
but it
that
was, it felt better.
good.
So that's
Well, you
good.
were that tired.
And
Well,
I was exhausted.
two things come to mind with you sharing all of that. One, well, three things, I guess. So one, I'm laughing. I would say we're laughing, but I think I'm mostly laughing. This is heavy and hard. It's nice to have some kind of giggles around it, but
Yeah.
you're really doing the legwork here, and there's nothing easy or laughable about it. So I
Okay.
guess it's just nice that things are going according to they're on track, and
Yeah.
so that's the best. That's good. Then the next thing is that just going back to Jeremiah, and I guess like laughing about his part in all of it, and just thinking like I know any of us, but then some people, specifically my husband being one of them, like it's really hard when you can't do anything more, so it's like you are doing all of the legwork, but then and all the hard stuff, but he has to stand by the sidelines and just watch the hard stuff and
Right.
can only do so much. And like I know that like my husband would like he sees something that needs fixing and he wants to fix it, and if he can't fix it, then that's like a miserable feeling for him, right? And there's these times where I'm just like, well, you just have to leave me. I just don't feel good, and that's how it is, and I don't want you to touch me. And of course that has nothing to do with what you're going through right now, but that's hard for him, you
Right.
know. So anyway, at my heart, I guess I'm just trying to express some compassion and gratitude for Jeremiah's side of things when I just laughed at him a lot.
I laugh a lot too. It's just funny. Like you kind of have to laugh because like if you don't laugh, you will cry. And so it's
Yes.
like last night we were watching TV and I was like, okay, let's just stay up. Let's not go to bed. Let's stay up. Because I'm normally in bed at 8:30.
Yes.
Because 4:45 is really early when your alarm goes off and you're like,
If you didn't go to sleep on time, yeah, there's
it
just no.
doesn't matter. Yeah, so I was like, oh, I fell asleep. What just happened? So then he's like catching me up to speed on this TV show and it was like, so I appreciate the fact that like he stayed up and I was like, thanks for staying up with me. Like, I was really nervous about this. Like, I don't know what this shot will feel like. Will it sting? Will it hurt? Is the needle really, but so there's all these things that like you think about. So,
Yeah.
and just like when I first started, which was literally a week ago, but feels like it's like I'm a pro at that, doing that shot. So it's like, I know it'll get better, and I just keep telling myself like this is not my life forever, it's just my life for like a very small amount of time, and so I
Right.
just keep telling myself that like maybe a week from now you won't have to worry about that, so
Exactly.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to
One at a time. Like
one shot at a time.
do whatever in between each shot to make you feel the best that you can, just to get you to the next one. You're just
Right.
getting to the next one. So just if you're able to share, like, because you didn't know what that shot would do, so you're up to 4. So you're taking multiple different ones. Are you
Yes.
able to share with us kind of what their purposes are, what they're doing right now?
Yes. So I'm on 3 different medications currently, and 2 of them are to stimulate follicle growth. So it's like synthetic, like follicle stimulating hormone that you're putting into your body. And then I'm on another medication, the one I added last night, um, to suppress the luteinizing hormone. I never knew this much about hormones and cycles. So
Right.
they don't want you to ovulate too early before they can retrieve them. So they monitor your blood. So when I go in for lab work, they're checking those hormones and my estrogen levels, and then they kind of see, and so they call it, I think, like the antagonist protocol or something like that. There's like a name for different protocol. I don't really know what mine
Gotcha.
is, but so that's what I'm on. And the other dose medication I'm on is it's a low dose HCG, which I did the HCG trigger shots with my IUIs. And so they literally took what was one trigger shot and they diluted it, and it's just literally a low dose. And so you use like an insulin needle. Actually, I got them right here, I think. You can't see it on the podcast, but so it's just like a really, like, it's not a very, it's literally says insulin on it. So they tell you like how many units, and it's very small. Like
Yeah.
this whole vial, I think, or this whole syringe is 0.5 milliliter. So it's really small, and the needle's really small. So that is, I think it works in a different way to increase your follicle growth. But
Well,
so yeah, so
I feel like we touched on this maybe on the first part, which of course it was all, I couldn't even remember um, IUI, at that time. So will you remind us what the big deal, what are the follicles doing and why are they wanting them to grow?
So the follicles are where your eggs grow. So normally when you have your cycle, when you ovulate, you're releasing an egg. Sometimes people release more than one. It happens sometimes, but usually it's one. And so when you take the medications, you're trying to make more of them grow at the same time and make them grow just in general. So I think they say like 2 millimeters a day is about how much they grow. Um, I think in general, but normally you wouldn't have all of these growing. Like they took my measurement, they take your measurements of your follicles. It's an ultrasound. And so I asked her today and on Saturday to give me my measurements so
Yeah.
I can kind of see how things are progressing. So I've got about 7, like getting the biggest ones right now. And then some that, maybe will catch up. And I don't know at what point. I think they maybe do trigger shot at like 18. Um, so I'm only like at 13. So I'm going back tomorrow. I kind of predict I'll be going there every until it happens. So
Which you mentioned anywhere from like 8 to 16 days could
yeah.
be like, and so it, and that's egg retrieval. Is that any
Yeah,
type
egg retrieval. Yep.
of, okay?
So I predict by the weekend, if not before. So I'm like, I'm starting to kind of get uncomfortable. It's kind of painful. It feels a little bit like cramps, like in your ovary section. I get cramps like all over when I have my period, like in my back. And so it just kind of uncomfortable. The medications can make you kind of constipated. So people are
Yeah.
like, start stool softeners like a couple days before retrieval. And so it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Gosh.
noticeable changes in things just being a little sluggish, including me. I'm just like dragging a little bit and trying to just like one process at a time. I'm not like tip top shape, but
Well, I think that's important to remember and understand and continue to give yourself grace in those areas. It's like this is just not normal, like what your body's going through, trying to grow all the things and having the things put into it. And so it's like,
yeah.
um, yeah. Well, I'm thinking, so it's up to you. I have my series closing questions, but I mean, I feel like we could certainly visit more now very easily because we only have about 15 minutes left. And then we could talk again next week, and then we could kind of maybe that feels more conclusive. I don't want to be building anything up for sake of the podcast or anything, but I mean you're right sort of in that window, and you're going through a lot, and we've talked a lot. This is almost we skipped a week, so we haven't talked for 4 consecutive weeks, but this is our
Yeah.
fourth time. So it's up to you. How do you want to talk one more time, or should we wrap up the series?
I have no problem, or I could always share something later if you want to.
Yeah.
I really don't mind either way.
Okay.
I enjoy sharing about it because even though I'm like kind of in it, there's still a lot of stuff that I don't even know. And on Saturday, I was with my sister, and she was out of town last week and kind of not, she was with family, but it's not the same of like the routine and talking and that kind of stuff. And she said, now catch me up on what's going on. She was just like, I had to like start all the way back from last week, Monday or Sunday, really, and just kind of because she kind of missed stuff. She was, gone for over a week. And so yeah, it was like, it's a lot to like try to understand and figure out. And
Yeah, it strikes me, so just how life is. We have days, weeks, months, years sometimes where they're pretty uneventful. There's not a lot going on. It's sort of just like the do 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 do, and it wouldn't be. like what you're experiencing right now is not your normal 8 days.
Right.
So much is packed inside of that, and every 24 hours is like, okay, it's this new saga, of detail. And so it's a lot. Like it's very intense. It's definitely um a special and unusual season of your life. I'd love to talk. Why don't we talk again next week, so then we can at least find out what will be on the other side of the 16 days. So between now and then, what could potentially happen is an egg retrieval, and what's it called when it's fertilized? Does is
Embryo. The embryo transfer.
is that
Or the,
okay?
yeah. Yeah.
So is that, am I using the right word? Do they fertilize
They
outside?
fertilize the egg. Yep.
Uh-huh. And then how long, you've told me already, but remind me how long before they do the embryo transfer?
5 days.
Okay, so we wouldn't be there yet, probably.
Right. And if, depending on, sometimes they can't do a fresh. So we're hoping to do a fresh transfer, but we won't really know that until like
The retrieval. Or
probably as things progress. I think they maybe update you like on day 3. And then they might check like your hormone levels and such. So I don't know exactly when we'll know like what that looks like. But I do know that's like then you basically are on like modified bed rest after the transfer because they don't want you to like,
they don't want it to fall out.
well, even like with the IUI, I'm like, they make you lay there for 10 minutes and I'm like, that's it? Just 10 minutes? Like, should I like go home and have my leg like I lifted my legs in the car? I'm like, I don't know.
I hear you. Yeah.
Just like things naturally go outward. So I'm like, I don't know what's
Gravity.
happening. I know. So yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Okay. Well, so yeah, so anything, I guess we can go ahead and start on my closing questions, and we can build on them like when we're officially done. But so what I've come up with so far is what would you like someone who doesn't know about infertility and pregnancy loss, they don't have any experience around it, what do you want them to come away from this series we're doing and your experience and your sharing? What do you want them to come away with it from, or from it with?
I think um you know, one of the reasons why I am so open about it is that I want people to be more informed about it. And I think just having empathy for, I think that just in life, I think we could all just be more empathetic to everybody. But, if you are aware of somebody that maybe has lost a pregnancy or maybe they've lost a young infant, or they're going through infertility, just being, really empathetic with that person. I have generally pretty good days. Um, I wouldn't say like the loss of Hazel affects me on a daily basis like it did a year ago, and obviously 2 years ago was very fresh. But, things like Mother's Day coming up and holidays, those are very hard days for me. And even people who are experiencing infertility, that can be really hard for them to have to navigate. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I don't really go to baby showers. I've kind of We're kind of at a point in my life that there's not a whole lot of them because everyone's basically had babies that I would probably be invited to. But um it's just something that I did after I lost Hazel, and it was my best friend's baby shower, and that was extremely difficult for me, but I knew that I had to be there. So I think just, if you are, whether it's because they're an infertile or they've lost a pregnancy or a child, I think just being a little kinder to people. Nobody ever asked me like, why aren't you coming to the baby shower? Um, but I felt very self-conscious about it because that's not really me. I'm always there to support people, and I just supported them from afar and, sent a gift. But there's just a lot of things, or just sending like a little note to somebody, and just say like, I'm thinking of you, or, even just the things that you say. And I know everything usually is well intentioned, like you intend for it to come off, you know, that way, and maybe even say like, I don't necessarily have the right words, but I just want you to know, I appreciate the fact that somebody tries versus the person that completely ignores.
Got you.
Um,
And so I think what comes to mind for me, not to interrupt, but just so that we stay in this space and we can give tangible examples, is because there's so much, there are so many different topics, not just this one, that if someone hasn't experienced it, they just don't even think about it. They don't think about it at all. So like you had mentioned, whether something's in good taste or not. And it's like, so I saw a post the other day. I notice now when people who post about Mother's Day or something do think full spectrum about everybody. And I can't say that I did that in years past. So what are so and you can be very, you can pull from your memory bank or whatever, like, because you're Emily and you know what you feel like if your stomach sort of twists or something feels a little off, or like, oh man, I know they didn't mean anything by that, but that just wasn't very sensitive. So like, I'm curious if you can give us a couple examples of like, someone saying this, and then what's the alternative that has a little more empathy for people experiencing things like infertility and pregnancy loss?
yeah, I think one of the, you think about people say like, I think anything that starts with at least, you
Okay.
should not say. So
Okay.
people say like, at least it was early, at least, um, it there must have been something wrong. At least that. But that one you hear a lot, and I know we've all said it because it's just kind of what society has is kind of
I said
taken
it in
that way.
our first talk, and I prefaced it before I
Yeah,
said it. If I said it again, then I said it without even knowing. But yeah, I mean, because I was like, what came up into my brain was that, and it started
right.
exactly that way. So go ahead and continue. Yeah, so that's a very natural, that's what people are going to say. Maybe they're just trying to make themselves understand or feel better, but so they might say something that starts with at least, and they're trying to be comforting. So what would be better?
I think offering your sympathies, or to say something like, you could just say, I'm so sorry, whether it's you lost a pregnancy or you're experiencing infertility, like that is maybe not your path. And I think about people who are like, oh, I can't even imagine. And I know I've said that about other things. And then I'm like, oh, expletive. Like, I should not have said that, because you're right. You can't imagine because you don't even want to imagine.
Yeah.
So I try to catch myself saying those things in that context of reacting to somebody's, like whether someone has died because of this or that, like, oh, I can't even imagine. You're right, but I think if we just said like, I imagine that is very difficult for you, it would be better than someone saying like, oh, you lost your so and so to cancer. You would never say those things. And I've seen really good posts over the last couple of years while people are like, they say like, oh, well, at least it was earlier, oh, you have other children, or it if you lost your parents, you wouldn't say like, well, you have another parent still. Like, so
Right.
I think it's like
Oh, you
it's
still have dad. Oh, you
so
still
funny.
have mom.
Like it's funny
Yeah.
but it's like, oh my gosh, the light bulb goes on.
Yeah.
Like if you just change out the whole context of what you're saying and putting it into perspective, you would never say that to someone like, oh, I'm so
Right.
sorry you lost your aunt to cancer. Well, at least you still have an uncle. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you
Well,
know,
so what I'm taking from this, and I feel like I'm growing in my maturity as an adult into this space anyway, but I think that what is huge for us here and on this podcast is touching experiences that we haven't before, and so it's just a little more light, and then the more light we get, then just the brighter it is and the more aware we are. But you're using the word empathy, and that's exactly what needs to happen. So the difference between empathy and sympathy is like, um oh, that's too bad, I'm sorry, or at least, or whatever. And empathy is when you actually feel the thing for the person. So instead of
right,
feeling badly for the person, you're feeling the thing with the person. And so if we're able to pause and sit with you in this, that's what feels better, because then there's not this separation of like, oh, that's you and this is me and too bad for you sort of a
right.
thing. It's we're coming together and you're sharing, we're sharing. It hurts, like my stomach hurts, like the more that I've gotten, we've spent 4 weeks together, and I'm thinking about you a lot. I'm wearing my bracelet today. I'm
I
so
like your
excited. We
Me too.
have yeah, well, I mean, every day I'm like, yeah. So anyway, I really appreciate you extending grace to people and taking the time to help them through this so then they can be with you. And that's special. And of course, we want sunshine and a rainbow. So will you update us on the sunshine bracelet?
Yeah, so I think I have four left, I believe. So they're $10. They're Pura Vida bracelet, so they're waterproof. Jeremiah was like, oh, I wore it in the shower, and I was like, that's fine. That's the like really cool thing about the Pura Vida versus any other bracelets
Yep,
that I
that's what
wear.
they're for.
Yep. And so he doesn't know, but it was really cute. So they're waterproof. They were specially made for our Sunshine Bracelet fundraiser. The money literally goes into my bank account, probably to go fill my gas tank because I'm driving 50 miles round trip, like a lot right now. So, but it just kind of helps us. We pay for everything completely out of pocket, meds all the way down to every appointment and all of that. So it's very helpful. And the link is in my bio, or you can DM me at Vinnigirl23, VINNIEGURL23. So you can either way DM me or fill out the spreadsheet. And then I'll ship them to you because I have them. So
Yeah, it's super. I got them. They're super sweet, and then with the cutest little note with Graham and a rainbow in the background.
that
Um,
picture actually was taken on my due date this past summer. So Hazel's due date. It had rained all day, and it was our last night or something on vacation, and we came outside to make s'mores when the rain finally stopped, and there it was. And Graham sat down, and my sister snapped the photo, and it was like the most perfect thing ever. And I just kind of felt like that was her way of just telling us that she was there, and that it kind of gave me a little bit of hope that, maybe we will have our actual rainbow. So
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's beautiful. Love the bracelet. Thinking tons about you. So
thank you.
grateful for you and all your sharing. And we will have to. I was thinking when the series is over, if you want to talk, or we could do a FaceTime or something.
Yeah.
Whenever I do calls at my desk, whenever I do calls, I make something at the same time.
Yeah.
So It's just a lot. I feel like I don't want to assume that you want to talk. So if you like to talk, it's one of those things, that's just one of those things, like depending on the
Yeah.
day and the person and personalities and things like that. So I want you to know that I'm here and I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to reach out though as
Yeah.
well. So,
I
um,
enjoy talking. So it's perfect.
yeah, well, good. So that we don't get cut off by Zoom, I guess we'll go ahead and say kind of wrap things up. And I'm gonna say to go get the sunshine bracelet from Emily's link. And of course, if you're listening to this way later, this is something I'm still trying to learn with podcasting. It might not be relevant like 2 years down the road.
Right.
Um, but as of whatever day this is, May
8th.
8th, 2023. Go get the last 4 sunshine bracelets from Emily. You can use code Emily R at prettybygl.com, and that could be 2 years down the road and still be relevant. And you, by purchasing something at Pretty by JL, you are supporting the work that we're doing here on the podcast, and you can save 10% by using Emily's code, and then that helps support her also. She gets a little sales commission that way. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. We love
Thank you.
you. And I'll say to everybody else, stay pretty loving because that's what supports us, and kind. Okay, there was our pause. We still have 3 minutes.
But hey, that's okay.
It's better than being cut off. Like I've been
Mid-sentence.
Yes, it's so bad when like even for YouTube purposes, if we're cut off mid-sentence. So your sister, we only have 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
Madalena, is that
Madalena. Yes, my niece.
your new niece? How are they doing?
Good. So she I guess has the metabolism of my brother-in-law,
Okay.
and they have to keep going back for like weekly weight checks because she still hasn't gained back like her birth weight that she lost, but or hasn't gotten back to her birth weight.
Yeah.
And but Erin was like, she just feeds all the time. So she
Oh,
just is
wow.
like burning. I mean, she already spun like in her what the heck is that called?
I don't know.
And it's not the pack and play, but like the small, it's like a small, I can't think of it.
Uh-huh.
That she sleeps in. And
Oh,
so she
okay.
already like has turned herself and like rolled to her side. And so it's like, you're only 2 weeks old. So it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, she's just like lifting her head up and
She's just a strappy little thing then.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
they're doing very well. So
Okay. Well, good.
yeah.
And your sister is back now? Is that right? Because she's been gone, you said, with
My other
family.
sister, yeah, my other
Oh, so
sister.
you're at,
I have
okay.
2 sisters. Yeah. Sorry.
I guess that would make sense. So this whole time I'm picturing sister with brand new baby, but
Now,
that probably makes
yeah.
sense that it's not her that's
Yeah,
away.
my older sister went out east by my uncle, and my grandma was out there, and then my grandma and my sister flew home on Friday, so they
Okay.
kind of yeah.
Okay. Good.
But she's 95, so she likes to travel with somebody else, but it didn't work out for them to go together because they had to change the date. So she
Yeah.
flew home with my sister, so that was good. But
Yeah. Well, good. Well, it says less than a minute will be cut off anytime. So anyone that's here, if you are able to type out a question in like some odd seconds and there's no guarantee, this was a behind the scenes at recording the podcast. So it's cool. Maybe nobody's even on there right now and people have just hopped on. Well, Emily, I will say goodbye to you while I
okay.
still see your face before it cuts it off.
Yes.
And then I'll email you. I'll hope to have
Okay.
this up on Wednesday, and
Perfect.
you just let me know. I'll email you. You let me know what makes sense.
Sounds good.
Okay, tell Jeremiah
Okay.
hi.
I will do that.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
Bye.